So a miserable night for Manchester United, who came away from Anfield against their bitter rivals with absolutely nothing in their race for the final Champions League spot. 2 wins in 9 games under Ralf Rangnick and a massive summer ahead. As for Jurgen Klopp, is he heading towards Premier League title number 2? Unbeaten in 13 Premier League matches, winning 11 of those. They are in the most purple of purple patches. Let's have a look at the top of the Premier League table then. Liverpool, top of the pack for the first time overnight since the 1st of October. 2-point their lead over Manchester City. City could go back to the top if they beat Brighton later. We'll focus on that game later on Premier League Daily. I want to show you this as well, because Liverpool have been top for just 10 days this season. The surprise in there, I mean, no surprise to see Manchester City top of the table for 136 days, but Manchester United, 4 days more than Liverpool. Where did that come from? The United fans will be asking. Alan Kirbishley, Jody Morris in the studio. Liverpool are a joy to watch, Jody, aren't they, at the moment? I mean, they have been for years, but particularly this recent patch.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you can label enough superlatives at them at the minute. I mean, I've loved watching them play under Klopp anyway, but then when you're putting in performances like that against such a big rival in Manchester United, I mean, thought they was just outworked, Man United, outclassed. And then when you see those type of stats that you're going to see with Mo Salah and the kind of performances he's putting in, they're just an absolute joy to watch, and I've really enjoyed it.
Alan, you know, as a manager, momentum is absolutely everything, isn't it? At this time of the season, they couldn't ask for more momentum.
Well, why not get into top spot with a handful of games left? You know, Man City have been there for a long time, and you know, everyone's been trying to catch them. Liverpool have caught them now, and now up to Man City tonight to respond. But I don't know who would have lived with lived with Liverpool in that first half.
I agree.
It was absolutely brilliant. The passing, the movement. They outrun Man United. They outfought them physically and mentally. And I thought Man United looked a little bit overawed in that first half. They didn't know what to do and how to get out of it. And in the end, they paid the price, I think, for the manager perhaps going with a system that they've not played before.
It was chalk and cheese, wasn't it? We'll get onto the Manchester United side of things. I'm sure the United fans have already turned off the telly just watching the highlights there from last night. It was such a good start from Liverpool. They are starting games like that. I know not necessarily at the Etihad Stadium in the Premier League game, but Luis Diaz, what did you make of that goal from Liverpool in terms of the teamwork involved in it?
Well, I just think when you've got that level of player all across the front three, I mean, it doesn't matter if it's Salah one week, it could be Mane the next, but when you're getting this type of movement that's going in behind teams with the pace that they have, I mean, Trent looks like he's going through first, and then obviously Mo Salah just says, well, do you know what, I'll take care of this, and my weaker foot lay it on an absolute plate for you. Diaz has been a joy to watch since he's first come into the club, and you have to commend the recruitment at Liverpool, because he's slotted in and looks like he's been playing it for years.
It is a seamless transition for Luis Diaz. 4th goal for Liverpool, Alan. 2nd in the Premier League. He's got a bit of the Suarez about him. He's tenacious. He's a fighter, but I mean, he's an incredible player for what, £40 million?
Yeah, and it's the pace. What Jody's saying, that all 3 of them, whoever plays Jota, we forgot about him.
Yeah.
But whoever plays up front for Liverpool, a back 4 against them knows that they can go short and receive the ball to feet. Do I want to go in there that tight? And if I go that tight, I'll get spun and go that way. So it's very, very difficult to play against them 3, and the movement as well. And I just think the passing last night, you know, Henderson, Thiago, everything was just off the cuff, and it was working. And I don't know who would have lived with that in that first half.
What is Liverpool's strongest front 3 right now?
I would say the 3 that was on the pitch to start the game last night. But again, you look back to maybe sort of, I don't know, 10 weeks, 8 weeks ago, and Jota was scoring more than maybe the other 3.
And how can you leave someone out like that with those numbers as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's when you have to look at Klopp and say what a great job he's done as far as maybe moving certain pieces around, like Mo Salah said there, that Mane's maybe playing in the 9 a little bit more often than he was used to, because of how well Diaz is doing on the left-hand side. And I'm with Curbs. I thought the passing as well, not only if you have that sort of pace, but even from the defenders, like one-touch passes that are breaking lines. And
you loved Robertson last night, didn't you?
Oh yeah, I just thought, you know what, even when they were sort of like 3-0 up, 4-0 up, he's sprinting to get the ball, get it back in play. I mean, I know Liverpool are huge on throw-ins and getting it back into play quickly unsettles your opposition. I just thought he epitomised everything that was good about Liverpool last night. I thought, Robertson.
Dare we ever doubt Mo Salah? He'd gone, one goal in 12 games for Egypt and for Liverpool. That was a penalty against Brighton. So, look, a desert, barren spell in terms of Mo Salah's standards. And there he is with 2 goals. What about his first one and the assist from Sadio Mane?
I mean, the ball into Mane's great because it's first time. But the way he just disguises it, he looks one way and plays it the other. So it comes back into him first time. Look, he just bends it around the corner. And the first touch on this weaker foot, what weak foot? He crossed one to score the first goal. But this ball there is absolutely fantastic. I don't think you can complain about the fullback not marking the right side of him. I just think the ball is completely done for Man United. And what a great first touch and really cool finish. De Gea's got no chance.
And if it couldn't get any worse for Manchester City fans in terms of looking at the Premier League table, Jody, Salah coming back into form at this time is quite worrying for them.
Well, I mean, he's been probably one of the top performers in the Premier League for the last few years, and when he is hot, he is super hot. And even again there, just on that pass, obviously from Mane, but even the ball from Matip, which was a one-touch pass. Look how high up the pitch he is. That shows you the confidence that is running through the team. And if you've got people at the top end of the pitch that are world class like that, you've got a great chance of beating anybody. And I think Liverpool look confident, like they don't care who they're up against at the minute.
Yeah, and we always talk of contracts, and of course Mo Salah's contract. It's Sadio Mane that needs to tie down, isn't it, for another 5 years? Because he seems to go under the radar. And I mean, his goal was beautiful, wasn't it, Alan? The finish, the disguise again on this and finding the side netting.
I just think when they break, Man United just can't keep up with them. There's only a couple of players in the Man United team that's got the pace to stay with it. And because he's took it first time, I think most people, even Harry Maguire, is thinking he's got to have a touch. He's got to have a touch. Because you can see Maguire, he's looking at the ball, he knows he's got Mane. Have a touch and I'll go and close him down, but he don't take the touch. He hits it first time and he just proves you don't have to hit the ball too hard as long as you place it in the corner. That's a great goal. Absolutely great.
Yeah, it's the little check that he does as well, isn't it? The little check where the momentum of the defenders are going to carry you on towards a goal, and that little check which gives him a little bit more breathing space, and then for the technical ability to find the corner was outstanding. Yeah,
and look, there's no more sort of dangerous sign than Mo Salah with a smile on his face like he had after scoring his second and Liverpool's fourth of the night, and it was icing on the cake. It could have been 5 or 6, couldn't it?
Well, we can't talk about these front three any more than we are at the moment. I mean, when you're talking about technical ability and willingness to run with the intelligence of the movement, yes, he gets a little bit lucky with the deflection, but you make your own luck when you're constantly trying to break the back line of these opposing teams. And again, look, he's seen the space where Harry Maguire's about to step up, thinking it's like what Curbs was saying. Do you go short? Do you put people under pressure? And then the fact that Mo Salah's then
that's outrageous.
No, I mean that's what I mean. It's just a joy to watch, and he deserves any contract that is going to be thrown.
I think the biggest thing they've got, the front, whoever plays, Jota can go in there, whatever.
Yeah.
Is they all come short to receive the ball, but they can all go that way, and there's not many teams that have got players that can go that way.
Yeah.
And as a defence, a lot of the balls are passed backwards and square. So as a centre back, it's all in front of you. When it starts going that way, that's the big problem.
Yeah. Any surprise, Jody, to see this? Mo Salah top of the charts in terms of goals, 22, and joint top with his teammate Trent Alexander-Arnold with the assists. We know how much he likes those personal accolades because he'll correct you on any stat you get wrong, Mo Salah.
Yeah. Well, I think all the top strikers do. I think if they're worth their salt, they want to be scoring as many as possible. And the fact that I think it also shows an unselfishness about his game, which sometimes over the past couple of years you'd maybe hear the odd murmur of going, "Oh, Mo Salah's a little bit selfish in front of goal," but clearly not. I mean, he's finding his teammates as well as the back of the net himself.
Yeah. And only 2 players, Alan, in Premier League history have won the Golden Boot and what's called now the Playmaker Award in terms of getting those assists. Harry Kane last season. Quiz question, can you think of the other one? Because I know Jody knows the answer. We were going through it before. Andy Cole, 93-94, before he went to United at Newcastle.
At Newcastle, yeah.
So it hasn't been done many times before. Let's hear from Jordan Henderson, the Liverpool captain, who joined the Matchday Live team after the game last night.
Top of the table for the first time since the 1st of October as the race for this trophy continues. A man who has lifted it already, of course, for Liverpool is their captain, Jordan Henderson. We're delighted to say he joins us live here, pitchside at Anfield. Very well done. You always like to beat Manchester United, but to beat them again in such fashion, how did that feel tonight?
Yeah, very good. Another big performance from us. You know, United aren't in the best moment, but they've got quality players that can hurt you, especially on the counter-attack. So we felt as though it could be a dangerous game, but if we were on it 100% and focused on the job in hand, then it felt as though we could win the game, and we managed to do that in the end comfortably.
Another incredibly fast start, 2 up inside 21 minutes.
Yeah, it was a big start from us. The crowd were amazing right from the beginning. And yeah, the performance didn't let them down. A couple of early goals, and we played some great football, especially in the first half.
Jordan, you've played with some exceptional midfielders over your career so far. Thought Thiago was different class today. Just tell us what's different about him, because he looks so unique to a fan.
Yeah, he's a fantastic football player. You know, I don't have to speak much about him. You can see how good he is technically. His awareness. It's what he's done in his career. You know, I can remember playing against him when I was really young and couldn't get near him. So to be playing in the same side as him is a pleasure for me.
And I'm fascinated as well at this stage of the season in 4 competitions. We're mid-April now as well. Everybody, virtually, Firmino, little knock today, but everybody's fit. What's the secret behind that? Is the way you train, the way your dietitians, or I mean, it's uncanny to get to this stage of the season and have everybody fit, playing so many games that you've played.
Yeah, I feel as though since January, you know, I had a few injuries before that, and then players in African Nations Cup. But then since that break and we come back, I feel as though we've used the squad really well. You know, managers rotated a lot, especially midfield, and yeah, you don't really like it so much as players. You want to be playing all the time, but you can see the benefits of that for the team, and the energy levels has been high, and that's worked really well for us. And if we are going to keep performing and keep playing to the highest level right from now till the end of the season, we're going to need everyone.
And is this the best squad you've ever? Because we've often thought that your 11 or maybe your 14, 15 over recent seasons has been exceptional. Now it looks like there's 18, 19 or even more. It looks like the best squad you've ever had here.
Yeah, I think it looks really strong because, like you said, everybody's fit. You know, the last couple of seasons, especially last season, we had a lot of injuries, and the squad looked pretty thin. But now everybody's fit. You know, some of the lads that aren't even making the squads, who have been training really good, who are top-level players, and that just shows the strength and depth that we've got. But we're going to need everyone, like I said, from now to the end of the season if we want to finish strong.
And I think that's part of your role as captain. I think you're brilliant at that as well. Is when you've got such a brilliant squad of players, there's going to be people disappointed and missing out on big games, especially this start. With these last 7, 8, 9 games, big games you've got. Is that a big part you feel to really build these lads up as well, to put a goal to them, their arm around the shoulder, these young lads who are desperate to play? Do you feel that as a big part of you and Millie, especially in Van Dijk?
Yeah, and it's not easy, you know, when you're not playing. You're missing big games, you know, as you know, you want to be playing all the time. You feel really good. But at the end of the day, like the manager, you can't argue with the manager. You know, he knows what he's doing, and you get on with it. Yes, if you look at someone and you feel as though they're a bit down, you've got to get your arm around them and say, listen, we're going to need everyone, and that's a big part of the leaders within the group. But I feel as though that's a big plus this season, how everybody's reacted when they haven't been playing, when they've then come on or when they've started, they've made a big impact and a big difference, and that's been a huge part of the season so far, and we're going to need that right till the end.
So, boys, 2 former midfielders in the studio. What do we make of the importance of Thiago in that midfield? Jordan Henderson was talking about it there. Jody, I know you've been part of the Chelsea coaching teams and trying to contain him when you were there with Frank against Bayern and against Liverpool as well. How's he become such an important player for Liverpool?
Well, I just think he's a genuine world-class player. I think you've seen that when he played early in his career at Barcelona. In Bayern, I mean, I know we was talking off air, but I couldn't believe they was cruising against us, Bayern. I think they was 3-0 up. And he was still driving it from, like, you wouldn't believe, with his voice. Not only is he technically gifted, but he's a winner. He has a winning mentality where he doesn't let players around him take their foot off the gas. And when you have the passing range and the awareness and the vision that he's got, as well as putting his foot in, as I said, I remember I said to you that he'd covered over 13 kilometres against us, and that was in a game that Bayern was really cruising. And as I said, I just think he's a genuine world-class player that you'd hate to play against if he was a midfielder.
Alan, there were question marks over him last season, unbelievably. But, you know, have you seen him become sort of moulded more into the Klopp style of play?
Yeah, and I think that he's so aware of the other players that he fills in for people. He drops into that back three or back four. He showboats a little bit, which might start getting him in a little bit of trouble, I think. I mean, if they was playing against the old Man United team, I'm sure Roy Keane would have had something to say when he looked that way and passed it that way or dragged his foot over it. But that's how confident he is, you know, and he was winking at Klopp and sort of, he knew he's got so much ability and he was on top of his game. He had time and space that no one else had.
Yeah, we talk about big money being spent in recruitment, and we've just mentioned Luis Diaz going for what, £40 million, and we know Tottenham were in for him as well. But 25 million quid is what it cost to get Thiago to Anfield. I mean, that is a snip for a player that's only just turned 31 years old.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and especially the way that he does play the game, that you could see him playing well into his mid to late 30s because he looks after himself. He's diminutive, but at the same time can get around the pitch. And I think when you're so far ahead of the game in your mind, and tactically he's obviously class, I think you'll see him go on to later on into his career and still controlling games.
Yeah. Look, we've got to talk about Manchester United, Alan. Even Ralph Rangnick after the game saying, it was embarrassing, even humiliating, the words that he used. He said that they're 6 years behind Liverpool in terms of the time that Jurgen Klopp has been there, and not only recruitment but everything that he's sort of enforced on that football club. Where was that in terms of a performance compared to the one at Old Trafford when they lost 5-0 in October?
I mean, the two results will go down in Liverpool folklore, won't they?
Yeah.
You know, 9 goals and conceding none. I just looked at Alex Ferguson up there, and he's probably, that they are the old days. And when he first went into Man United, he had to, I'm going to knock Liverpool off their perch, and that's what we've got to do. And I think they've got to do it again. The ironic thing for me is, I look at Man United, and they have spent a lot of money.
Yeah.
And they've got a massive squad. I know they had quite a few injuries last night, but they have got a massive squad. And I think the days of perhaps when Alex was running it on his own and it was all about man management, etc., has changed in football now. And you do need the sporting director, you do need the scouting, you do need the recruitment, and you need the backup of the top clubs. And I think Man United at every stage have tried to do that, but they've not made the right decisions.
Yeah.
And to have, when Ollie left, Ollie came in as a caretaker manager. They gave him the job instead of perhaps going out and getting the manager then. Then they let him go, and now they've gone and done it again. They brought another caretaker in, and players, they feel that, they know that the guy who's in charge is not in charge, if you know what I mean. And that is very difficult, especially a massive club. And when you start hearing stories coming out of a football club, like an insider says this or that, you've got problems. So that needs someone to come in there now. That's a massive job to turn it around.
Is the danger then that they don't get that infrastructural change in the summer, a new head coach comes in that sense in Erik ten Hag, and not a lot changes, Jody?
Yes, but I do think if there's ever a club that has the resources to be able to make those decisions and get the infrastructure right, I think it is Man United. The limitless funds, if you like, but I'm with Curbs. I do think it's a huge job, and I think a big clear out of players is needed. It looks like a bit of an ageing squad in certain positions, and they definitely need to strengthen, but you can't really do that until you've got maybe a philosophy and a manager in place, which we was only talking about Luis Diaz, the way that he seamlessly stepped into the team. I think Man United will need to start getting the right profile of player that they need through the door.
And look, you can see there that they're only 3 points off fourth. I mean, is it the best race for fourth place or the worst? We can talk about that later. But I mean, Alan, as a manager, and the difference that can make in terms of whether you're shopping in Harrods or a budget supermarket in the summer, it's all about that Champions League place. And if they're going to start this recruitment and build again.
Yeah, and shopping for the manager as well. And they've had, on the face of it, a disastrous season so far, Man United, but could finish fourth. I mean, no one really wants to take it. Arsenal got beat at the weekend, Tottenham got beat at the weekend, Man United have been beaten. Yeah. But, they could still got a chance of doing it, and that will make them more attractive if they do that. But I think whatever happens, is the managerial appointment has got to be the main thing now. They've got to get that manager in, and perhaps prospective managers looking at that last night maybe go, "Ooh, it's a bigger job than I thought." But it is, as Jody said, it is Man United. But they've made a few mistakes ever since Alex left. I mean, they've gone Louis van Gaal, varsity experience. They've got Mourinho, varsity experience. Ollie as a caretaker manager and his first real big job. And then bring Ralph in, etc. So they've got to get this one right.
Yeah.
I think that, when a club's on a decline, it's the players that get it, it's the manager that gets it. But then people up there, they're making the big decisions.
Yeah.
So they've got to get it right.
Arsenal, Chelsea next to as well, 2 tricky games. In terms of that quote from Ralph Rangnick, I found that quite fascinating and quite specific in terms of we're 6 years behind Jurgen Klopp, a man that he knows so well, a man that it has kind of been moulded in the Rangnick style of football in the Bundesliga and Jurgen Klopp when he was at Dortmund and Mainz. Can it be quicker than that? Can it be quicker than 6 years? Is there a quicker fix for Erik ten Hag if he's the man?
I think it definitely can be quicker. You'd want it to be quicker than 6 years. I don't know how many people will be sitting around going, oh yeah, we can wait 6 years to get the level of performance up. But I also have to believe in the fact that you need to give the manager time if you want to get to where Jurgen Klopp has been. That's taken a long time, and obviously backing from within the club and also success. The fact that they've been successful and performed has enabled him to then go again and maybe get the type of signings that he wants. If he wasn't being successful and performing, then that's when you can find a new manager, or even maybe not getting as backed as much as you want. You've got to get success on the way with that.
Yeah. Look, so much criticism has come in the way of Paul Pogba more recently from Manchester United fans, obviously Harry Maguire. Jody says that there needs to be a big clear out. Alan, with your manager's hat on there, I mean, who survives in terms of the rebuild? If you're looking at sort of a key sort of 4, 5, 6 players to keep and then put the icing on the cake, as it were.
Well, I would say, I spoke to Jody about it before, the ones with some pace. It was obviously the big problem they had last night was pace. And there's not a lot of pace in that Man United side. And, when we talk about Liverpool recruiting, Jota, so quick.
Yeah.
Diaz, quick. There's a profile of the player that you want. And Man United need to bring some pace in.
We talk about pace. I mean, they took the pace out of the team, didn't they? Sancho went to the bench, Lingard went to the bench, and Phil Jones isn't going to run the 100 metres in 10 seconds, is he?
No, especially when you're playing against Liverpool and the Man Cities and the Chelseas of this world.
Yeah.
You've got to have pace. And they haven't got enough of it, Man United, at the moment. So whoever comes in there, that would be his first priority, bringing players in that have got real pace.
And it's the character, isn't it? I mean, we talked about Diaz, and we mentioned him loads already, but you want that tenacious side. They need those fighters in there, and I'm not saying that none of that squad has it, but that's what's been lacking, and certainly the fans would tell you that.
I think you're spot on, and you only need to look at the interview there that Jordan Henderson has. He's a top leader. James Milner, top leader. Thiago, leader. Van Dijk, leader. I think if you're looking at positions at Manchester United, you'd maybe be looking at maybe midfield and defensive areas of not just getting in top players, but top characters that can help patrol the dressing room and get like a better mentality throughout the squad, because you see it on the pitch. I mean, the fact that they're playing a back 5, sometimes a back 6, and there's no one really getting after the ball. They didn't lay a glove on Liverpool, especially in the first half. You need characters in there.
Just finally on Manchester United, Alan, and you can go on social media and feel the rage and the burn from Manchester United fans because it was against their bitter rivals at Anfield, and as you say, 9 goals over the 2 games against them this season. But is there a danger that Manchester United are heading towards becoming more of a mid-table team than a Liverpool, than a Manchester City? Again, it's a massive summer, and if it is going to be Erik ten Hag,
because we've got other clubs that are pushing into that top 4. Tottenham. We're talking about Arsenal earlier, even West Ham. There's teams now that are ganging up and trying to get into that top 6, where Man United are falling out of it. And if you look at what they've done in the transfer market, not many of them signings have been good ones. And as I said earlier, they've spent enormous amounts of money, and it's going to be an interesting situation. Are the Glazers going to back it again? Because they've thrown money at it and it's not quite worked. And the manager that comes in has got to be backed. Yeah. And it'd be interesting to see who comes in there in the end, because there's lots of talk about this one and that one, but they've got to get it right.
Yeah, I'm trying to get my head around the idea of Cristiano Ronaldo playing Europa Conference League football next season. I can't quite picture that.
I don't think he can either.
No. Right, let's talk about Manchester City, because they've got the chance to go back to the top of the Premier League table if they beat Brighton later. Let's hear from Pep Guardiola on the prospect of facing Graham Potter's side, who've just recently beaten Arsenal and Tottenham away from home.
They don't need to win in Arsenal and Spurs. Of course, it's a good info, but they don't need to do it to get credit. I think for the past, every time we play against Brighton from Graham Potter, so the opinion I have with him is having a lot of admiration for a team like them, how they play, the way they play, the results they got. But the challenge is the same like last 2 weeks, or last 2-3 weeks. So it's the same, 1 point ahead, and we are going to play every game a final to give opportunity to play another one until the end. We are going to challenge, and at the end we're going to fight. That's for sure until the end. We'll try to play good and get results.
So look, massive game for Manchester City. They all are now, aren't they, until the end of the season, and the psychology of Liverpool going left. And look, we're looking at Liverpool on the left column for the first time when we look at the run in there. Manchester City, the easier of the bunch for you, Jody, when you look at that?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I mean, Brighton is no walkover, and they have got a history of doing well against the bigger teams. But I honestly believe that both these teams can win every game, and it wouldn't surprise me if they both did that. We've seen it throughout the last 2-3 years that these two teams can go on mammoth long runs and just be wiping teams out of the way. And I certainly wouldn't put it past either team just winning every single game.
A few similar opponents in there. Both play Newcastle, both play Wolves, both play Aston Villa. I mean, the story there is, I know the City fans won't want to hear it, but last day of the season, if it goes to the last day, Steven Gerrard and Philippe Coutinho might have a say in the title race, Alan.
They might well do. I'll just look at, we've got two fantastic managers there, and they could both win the European Cup, win the Premier League, etc. So I just looked at Guardiola there, thinking about recruitment. I wonder if he wished he'd have got Harry Kane in the summer, like perhaps he should have done.
Not a bad second choice if Haaland, the Haaland rumours.
Yeah, but we're talking now.
Yeah.
You know, because I think if they'd have gone ahead and got that done, then I think they may have been well clear by now.
You both think City are still going to do it though, yeah?
I do, yeah.
I do, because I can't see him getting beat. As Jody said earlier, I can't see him Man City getting beaten.
Yeah, I mean, even based on the sort of recent performances, how much do we take in the FA Cup semi-final defeat against Liverpool in terms of psychology? Not necessarily, because obviously they played Zach Steffen in goal. He was always going to do that. He chose Ake over Laporte. Didn't bring Kevin De Bruyne off the bench with only 2 goals in the game at that stage.
I also thought that there was other circumstances. The fact that their game with Atletico was extremely tough and it was away from home. Liverpool was able to rest a lot. I don't think you can look into that game too much because if you go, was it a week earlier that they played in the league? Man City were by far the better team, I thought, in the league game. So listen, I honestly still believe that City will have enough.
Yeah. What about the way that City play and missing Kyle Walker? It seemed a nasty little roll of that left ankle, didn't it, in Spain at Atletico Madrid? KDB coming back quicker because it was just stitches, which is good news for the City supporters. But the pace that Walker's got, he gets them out of a lot of trouble, doesn't he, at times?
Yeah, well, he does, but they've got other players that can go there. There's no problem, is there? I think that they'll put someone else there who'll do just as good a job. I just think that Brighton, perhaps tonight, for instance, have gone on done fantastically well away to Arsenal, away to Spurs. Can they do it again? I'm not too sure. I think that Man City will be comfortable winners tonight, and as we've said earlier, I think it's going to go right to the wire, which is great.
Yeah. It's what you think it will be final day drama?
Yeah, I think we're going to go right to the wire on that, right to the wire on the top 4, which is going to be brilliant.
Yeah, it's gone to the final day 8 times, the Premier League title, and City have won it on the last 3 occasions.
Really?
Which is incredible in the history of the competition going back to 92, 93. What about Kevin De Bruyne then? Because, as I say, could have been a lot worse. I know there was sort of hearts in mouths, weren't they, when they saw him go down against Atletico Madrid, and he could play tonight. But the importance of him recently, because I've heard a lot of City fans say that this is the best they've seen from Kevin De Bruyne. Has he become even more decisive in matches?
I think the form that he's in at the moment, I'm not too sure that there's a better midfielder in world football. And yeah, he's popping up in sort of great times in getting these winning goals, and I just think when you're playing to the level that he is playing at, he is such a joy to watch, and one of the greatest Premier League midfielders of all time. We're talking about Thiago earlier. I mean, Kevin De Bruyne is of the same ilk.
And in terms of leadership, he's the Henderson. Obviously, you know, a lot of City supporters would say there's a lot more quality there than Henderson, but leadership skills, he's the guy that's going to drag them psychologically to the end.
I think Henderson could be more vocal, and I think he will point players out and whatever. He does it on the pitch.
Example.
He does it in training. By the way he plays and the way he conducts himself. I think it's been a pleasure to watch him play in the Premier League over the last 5 or 6, 7 years.
So Alan doesn't think Brighton can cause any problems. I mean, amazing results really to go to both sides of North London away from home the last 2 games and get the wins. Before that, 6 defeats on the trot where they'd scored 1 goal in 7 matches. It's been quite a turnaround for Brighton, and there'll be Liverpool fans watching tonight going, "Come on, Graham, let's have it again, please."
Yeah, I mean that's how I felt about Brighton throughout the season. Is that they've outplayed some teams in big spells in games, but they just haven't finished them off with getting the all important goals. And it wouldn't surprise me if Brighton performed well tonight. I just don't see how they're going to contain the Manchester City attackers.